Hello Facebook Live. It's Marilyn Devnish here from transformationstm.com, and welcome to this, what has both for me and my clients been an absolute game changer. So I have been, for the past couple of days, running an A to Z on this particular topic and going through some of the key components. And I thought it might also be very nice to also just share with you some client experiences of this as well. So not only are you learning about the kind of basic components with the A to Z, you're also hearing about how people have actually used it and applied it and implemented it to change their lives. And I'm going to do something a little bit ambitious this evening as well. I've kind of added a VT to this, and so we'll see if that works. Hopefully it does. I'm not sure how it's going to be in terms of sound, but I'm going to give it a go. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's all good. So let me just, I'm going to pull it up. What you should see on your screen is a video, and I'm not sure if you're going to hear the sound input directly from Facebook or via my PC, but let me just give this a press and let's see what happens. This is the wonderful Magdalena.
And we kind of trust ourselves and run away with the tasks. We just perform them like was something easy. And then when you start and look how much you achieved in the last 3 days, it's kind of like it's life transforming. We cannot believe that it's only several hours, like it was Friday morning when we didn't have all these skills. So thank you so much. It's like excellence to its best. Thank you.
So that's just a little piece there from Magdalena, who has taken this workshop, and so I just wanted to check that the video feed works. So what she was saying about it, for her it was heartwarming. She was learning powerful life skills and also skills to enhance her business, getting through piles of books in record time, a big element of self-trust, because when you trust yourself, that just filters into so many other different areas. It was, of course, very easy to do, life transforming, covering an unbelievable amount in record time. And one of the things she finished off there is saying it was about excellence at its best. And that's one of the things I have really found with this. And oftentimes I have adults and business owners like Magdalena you've just seen who attend. This one made me smile today because I was looking for it for another reason, but let me kind of pull this one up. And this was some feedback from she wrote this, I didn't write this, these are her words. And actually I've got all of the words here. I kind of pulled out the original, I've covered up her name, but I've pulled out the original kind of feedback form in her own writing. So she says, feel free to give us a comment we might use in our newsletter or promotional literature. So what she wrote is, if you can go from a moody, skeptical 16-year-old to a relaxed, positive, open-minded young person like me, ... anything is possible. Thank you for helping me gain confidence in my abilities. And that, you know, and her summation of it, having basically been dragged along by her mother, was that she was joyful. She was one of 3 siblings. So there were 4 of them there in total. Their mum had attended the month before and went home on the Friday evening a different person. The way that she interrelated with her daughters and her family was completely different. She came in on the Saturday morning and said, I can't believe it. She said, I'm a different person. She says, normally when I get home, I'm stressed. And, you know, if I've left the girls alone and what have you doing? Have you done this? Have you done that? And it's a really frenetic situation. And she said she got home, she was relaxed, she was calm. They had a really wonderful, open conversation. And that was just on the Friday. We only do 4 hours on the Friday. And so came in the Saturday completely different person, of course completely transformed by the Sunday, and she immediately said, I want my 4 girls to come on this. And I think her youngest daughter at the time was either 7 or 8 years old, right through to the 16-year-old that you've just heard from. And her sister's feedback was quite interesting as well. This is one of her sisters. She says, one of the questions I ask is, how can we improve the program? And she says, you can't. It was absolutely perfect. And one of the things that I found is it's a really nice blend and mix, because on this workshop, as with all of the workshops, we had a mix of children right through to, you know, what I call seasoned adults. Who's this? This is one of the adults. And this is one, actually, some of you guys saw her on Saturday. She says, I loved the whole program, but the best part at the end was when I realized, in capital letters, I can do it. It encouraged me to photo read everything and make it part of everyday practice. And in terms of what to change or improve, I can't think of anything that could improve this program. And so, whether it's the moody teenagers or whether it's the results, people have the most phenomenal time. And one of the things that was interesting, I did this one a couple of years ago. I was doing some research with a load of lawyers about how much time they spend reading, and I actually scaled it back a lot because the numbers were too crazy. People would have just thought you just completely made that up. And so I was speaking to the lawyers and saying, how much time do you read a day? And some of them were saying that they're like 12 to 15 hours a day just reading through documentation, reading law, reading case notes. And so I decided that would be too crazy when I put the numbers together. So I just scaled it back and I said, look, even if I just worked it on the lowest common denominator of 5 hours a day, average rate, as you know, solicitors charge by the hour. If you're a kind of article clerk, it might be £100 an hour. If you're a top silk, it might be £1,000 an hour. And then so I worked out the cost. How much does it cost to have you sat there reading all day, or just for those 5 hours? So anything from £500 to £2,500, which is anything just over £1 million a year. And then I worked out if you were to just save 1 hour a day, that's anything from 24,000 to almost £250,000 per year. So the question I'm always asking of my photo reading delegates and my photo reading coaching clients, because people can't always make the workshops, so sometimes they'll do the online video DVD and they'll do the Skype coaching. So regardless of how people are coming to it, I'm saying, number one, what's your time worth? Number two, if you could save an hour a week or an hour a day, what would it be worth to you? And to quantify it and then decide up front what you were going to do with the extra time. Because if you don't decide up front, it just gets reabsorbed into everything that you're doing. And so that is just one of the things you will have to work out your own equation in terms of how you value your time and what you could do. Even if you don't know the numbers, if you can't work out the numbers at this point in time, particularly if you're not self-employed and you don't charge by the hour, but what you could do is just say, what would I do with an extra hour a day or an extra couple of hours a week? Because that's kind of really where it starts. So when I was saying that this one truly is a game changer, I'm not joking. And I think one of the best things about it for me is that it is something that continues to grow and develop after the main event, because I will meet people years later who have made a point of using it and making it part of their daily life. And if I just talk about myself, let me just stick with myself. I started photo reading seriously, properly 18 years ago, came across it 20 years ago. I've been an instructor since March 2002, and to this day I still have times where I'm like, oh my god, wow, that is just awesome, where stuff is still happening even after 18 years, and not just 18 years of using it, but 18 years of teaching it. It still surprises me. It still blows my mind. It still makes me go, oh my god, can you believe that? And so it's one of those things I often refer to it as the gift that keeps on giving. It's an investment you make in yourself just the once, and then 20 years later it can still be delivering, because it's like planting seeds, and those seeds will continue to grow and will continue to expand and will continue to develop and show up in the most amazing and incredible of ways. And I've been doing this A to Z of photo reading. So far we've done activation, the Bandura curve, which looks at how you can get over the issue of self-sabotage. We've looked at comprehension, so how can you improve your comprehension? What we've got coming up next is dream play, which is just a really cool way to learn, programming your dreams. And so there are all sorts of really kind of interesting and fantastic ways that you can use it. And, people have had a variety of experiences. Let me just pull this one up for you. So this is a little extract. While you're looking at that one, I'm going to bring up the original. What does she say? The original piece. So this is what she says in her entirety. It's a lovely lady called Parvinder. So she says, of attending the workshop, she says, Marilyn, it's true. Still amazed by your delivery of all of the course content, and talk about grabbing the bull by the horns. When you did the HUNA healing on me, oh my God, I couldn't believe how accurate your diagnosis was. Brackets, you didn't tell me you were a doctor as well as everything else, exclamation mark, close brackets. I believe to fully appreciate and understand photo reading, you have to allow yourself to be open on all levels. emotionally, mentally, socially, and physically. For me, this was achieved through the Huna healing. What did you do to me? Question mark and a load of exclamation marks. It's like I've developed a more positive receptacles. And then she says in brackets, imagine the music from the $6 Million Man, where he tries to look at something far away. So it's like da 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 da, and then when he looks, he goes da 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 da, from what I remember. And she says, that's me now, laugh out loud. It's such a great feeling. So thank you once again. You've given a gift, a great gift to me and my girls. I'm eternally grateful. I can't wait to send my other 2 kids to you. Some individuals have been put on this earth to help people change their lives for the better, and you are one of those special people. Bless you, Marilyn. And that's just one of those really kind of cool examples of ways that people have used this and applied this. So she had the experience of completely transforming herself, what she believed she was capable of, her skills and abilities, because at that time, even though she was a full-time mum, she was thinking of going back to university, which she did do. She graduated over a year ago with honours. I went to her graduation party, which was fantastic. And so it just works in so many ways. And one of the obvious, reasons people come for photo reading is they're studying, they've got to take exams. I've also had people who have been going for an interview. So I had one lady recently, I was doing a talk, a keynote presentation for the Royal Bank of Scotland. She was in the audience. She had not been to an interview for 10 years, decided to apply for a job, was very nervous, number one, about the interview process itself, was also nervous about, well, how do you answer some of those tricky questions about why you haven't developed and moved in the last 10 years. And so we did just a 1 hour Skype coaching session. So she'd already heard a little overview from my keynote presentation. So we really focused on step 1, which is about getting yourself into state. We also focused on the mind mapping, and also did a piece with her of what I call Imagineering, where we then looked at the ideal scenario for the interview, and what would she like to have happen, what would the ideal scenario be. And really we kind of recreated the interview in her imagination. One of the things that then happened, she sent me a message after the interview saying, Marilyn, you're not going to believe it, which my clients say to me a lot. She said the interview went just as you described it. It had everything we talked about. It happened. And she said, I didn't even need to look at my mind map. She said 1 or 2 points when I came out, I was kind of thinking, oh, maybe I should have looked at that, but it just flowed. And she had, I think we worked together, I think it was on the, I think the time scale was something like the Tuesday or the Wednesday, something like that. And she had 2 days to read through all this documentation, plus get over the interview nerves and get herself interview ready after 10 years. And so it all went swimmingly. It went just as we talked about it. She was in flow, was able to handle everything. And that was just so cool, because that means when people have the same experience with exams. You maybe recently heard me talking about Sita, who went back to professional study for the first time in many years, and she'd failed one of her modules, and therefore couldn't progress to the rest of the course. And the course tutor had said to her, look, if you don't pass it next time, maybe this isn't for you, which is not what you want to hear when you're new to study. And she just took herself through the my online video DVD training, sent me a couple of Facebook messages, but basically she did it all by herself, no input from me, and she passed. And she said when she got to the exam, rather than the nerves and the panic and the anxiety, which was setting in having failed, she said she was calm and relaxed in the exam, and best of all, she remembered her mind maps. And she passed, and she's, if you follow her on Facebook, a couple of days ago she passed to level 3 as well. And so people have very interesting experiences of that. And with the interview, not only was it a great interview, which was just as we'd mapped it out and put it in her timeline, she also got the job, which is just amazing. So it just works in so many ways. So I think the question I'm always asking people, number one, there's a piece where I know it sounds outlandish, even when I just start from the premise of, you can read at 25,000 words per minute and photo read a whole book in 5 minutes, yada, yada, yada. That in itself, I think for many people just sounds like out there. But to then say that it extends into allowing you to be more relaxed in life in general, when it extends to enhancing your creativity, when it extends to improving your decision-making skills, when it extends to your public speaking, your presentation skills, your ability to remember stuff on the fly, because that's really when my journey with this started, when I was diagnosed in my mid-20s with what was thought to be early onset Alzheimer's and could barely string a sentence together, was sitting in exams, and I went from someone who got a first-class degree while working full-time to sitting in exams looking at a blank piece of paper, could not remember anything, and I was getting like 26, 27%. That's ridiculous. And so that's where it started for me. And I had kind of, even though I wasn't into personal development, and even though I was very negative, I was very quiet, very shy, lacking in confidence, very low self-esteem, as miserable as sin all the time. I really thought I was born on a Wednesday, because there was this thing, Wednesday's child is full of woe. And even despite all of that, I still somehow held on to the idea that that could not be my life. That could not be the sentence that had been handed to me before I was even 30 years old. And and I was doing all sorts of crazy stuff. You'd walk into a room and maybe see me upside down doing a headstand, because I'd heard that it would help the blood flow to your head. I was taking brewer's yeast, ginkgo biloba, starflower oil, cod liver oil, you name it. I was guzzling it down. It wasn't making any difference. I was trying to do crosswords and quizzes, things I'd read that could help your brain. Nothing really worked for me. And I was kind of noticing things just declining on a regular basis. And then, this leaflet comes through the door saying, would you like to double and treble your reading speed? Would you like to drink in information like you're drinking it in through a fire hose? Would you like to next level your skills, pass any exam, increase your business abilities, yada, yada, yada. And I have to admit, it sounded like nonsense, but it was my last hope. There was nothing else. And so I came to it very skeptical but desperate. And I think one of the key things is looking at what do you believe to be possible. So we talked about that in the A to Z series. We went through this in terms of self-sabotage and self-belief, and or not, as the case may be, and how that can impact your performance. If you haven't seen it yet, go and have a look at the Bandura curve video from a couple of days ago. It's on my photo reading tips and insights page. But part of it is looking at what do you believe to be possible, because if you hold the idea that this is possible, if you hold the idea that you can walk in on the Friday afternoon and go home completely transformed on the Friday evening, if you hold the idea that you can walk in on the Friday thinking about giving up your teacher training and on the Sunday be loving it and totally excited about it, that's your starting point right there. So it really is that. And I say one of the things I'd say is the biggest thing that often people find, because often people aren't studying for exams, they're not going for interviews, they're not even necessarily thinking about next leveling their skills at work, but what they want to do is fall in love with information, is to fall in love with books, and to not be intimidated by reading, by learning, by studying. And one of the things people often say, because I have a lot of people who have retired coming along as well, they say they have regained their passion and their love and their excitement and their sense of curiosity, not just about books, but about life in general. So it can be just so interesting in terms of the way it plays out, the impact that it has, and the things that you can do with it. And in the 16 years that I've been an instructor, never ceases to amaze me the ways that people use it and go out and use it. I mean, I think, some of the more unusual uses, I've had a couple of athletes and a triathlete who have smashed their personal best, even in times where they've been unfit, they haven't been training, they've been eating crap, their words, not mine, and just using a couple of very simple techniques from photo reading, they've gone out and smashed the personal best. I'm like, whoa, so that's one of the more unusual readings. If I did a video a couple of days ago where I was talking about Nick, who photo read TK Maxx because he needed the jumper in a hurry, and I showed you the photograph of Nick in the grey jumper that he found in a couple of seconds, just using a couple of the techniques from photo reading. And so I always say it goes way, way way beyond reading. And people will often find, I've had countless numbers of people who come in with confidence and self-esteem issues, which has got nothing to do with the photo reading workshop. However, they will find by the time they go home on the Sunday, those issues have disappeared and they don't even recognize themselves. And you know, that's why I've incorporated the HUNA. Actually, have I put HUNA down as H? That might, sorry. With the A to Z, I haven't fleshed out exactly what I'm doing for everything. But oh yes, I have. Just, oh, well, I said Hakelau, but I think I'm going to add HUNA to that as well. And actually, just to give you a little sense of what's coming with the A to Z, I might change my mind as I go through, because I might incubate and come up with a better idea. But we've had activation. We've looked at the Bandura curve for helping you with self-sabotage. We've looked at comprehension. Next coming up is dream play. Probably going to look at the I-mind connection. We'll look at the flip page and getting into flow. G will be your genius potential. I think H is going to be Hakelau and HUNA. I will be how to supercharge and enhance your intuition. Still incubating on J. K, I think we're going to talk about the knowledge web, because then I can slip in a bit about memory, because M is already taken. L, we're going to look at your learning styles. And for those of you who haven't done the learning styles quiz yet that I put out a couple of days ago, or a couple of weeks ago now, you might want to do that. M, we're going to look at the multiple intelligences. N, we're going to look at NOPS, which if you've done photo reading, you're familiar with that acronym. O, I'm not sure yet, but I think we're going to talk about the importance of having an open mind, because there's some stuff that has happened with photo reading, which if I were to tell you, you would think I was making it up. You'd be like, how is that even possible? So we're going to maybe share some of those mind-blowing, fantastic stories, and maybe by the time we get to that letter in the alphabet, you've warmed up a bit. P, I think we're going to talk about the power of purpose for P, but we might talk about the photo reading steps, so I'm incubating on that one. Q, we're going to talk about questions and mind probing. S, we've got to talk about syntopic reading because it's just so freaking cool. T is going to be the tangerine technique, the infamous tangerine technique. I think you might be unconscious incompetence, and how that can also play out and impact your learning. I haven't decided on V yet. W is either going to be kind of the whole concept of whole brain, whole mind learning, or we might just simply talk about why would you want to learn photo reading. Z, I think we're going to go with Zen, and X and Y are yet to be determined. So that's what we've got coming up with the photo reading A to Z. So the first couple of videos are on the on my photo reading tips and insights page. What I'll probably do after this, I'll maybe drop the link into the conversation thread or in the description of this video, so you can kind of check it out and watch the other videos if it's of interest. And over the coming days and weeks, even months, depending on my schedule, I'll be working through the A to Z of photo reading. But I thought just in amongst all of that, it might just be useful to just share with you just tiny little snippet of how people have used it, how it has enhanced and changed their lives, how it's improved their business, how it's changed them as human beings, and how it's worked on the level of the mind, the body, the spirit, the soul, even the physicality. Because as you know, Parvinder was talking about there in terms of am I a doctor, actually for her and her daughter, I'd picked up physical stuff that was going on and cleared it with the HUNA. So it really does work in the most mysterious ways. And when I say that it goes way beyond reading, that's got to be the understatement of the year, because it is incredible. So if you've got any questions, if you've got any queries, you know, drop them into the thread, send me a message. And what I will actually, with the Q, even though I'm going to be looking at mind probing under the Q, what I might do is also incorporate some Q&A into that, where I'll answer the questions as well that you might have about photo reading, about accelerated learning. For me, the piece that I think is really key, and where it kind of next leveled it again, was when I started adding in what I now call neuro success, which is really starting to look at principles of neuroscience and how do those fit. And that was because, you know, I had a doctor and a trainee neurosurgeon attend the photo reading workshop, and you know, he was a fan of the movie Limitless, and he said, everything in the movie, Marilyn, you're doing it here in real life. And so for a whole year, Dr. Koss and I used to speak on a Sunday from anything from definitely for an hour, but sometimes 4 or 5 hours, just talking about neuroscience, talking about personal development, talking almost about quantum physics and that sort of stuff. And that was just fascinating. And so I have, you know, over the years incorporated aspects of that into it as well, because it is just so powerful, which is why, as Magdalena was saying at the video at the beginning of this, is one of the reasons why people find it surprisingly easy to do it. And it's just like, whoa, look what I did. So cool. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. Let me have any questions. I'll maybe put those also into the Q&A bit as well. And yeah, I look forward to the rest of the A to Z. I'll do some of the videos on my main page, but I'll also do some of them on the photo reading tips and insights page, because I already know people are interested in photo reading on that page. But you know, either one, but definitely if you're not following the photo reading tips and insights page, you might want to do so, just so, because all of the videos will definitely be on that page, even if I don't do them on this page. So yeah, cool. Well, I'm just back from ballet class. Post-ballet hunger is now starting to kick in, so I'm going to pirouette off to the kitchen. And actually one of the reasons I took up ballet was for photo reading, because it was about, I'm always saying to people, try something new. You want to find ways to challenge your brain, you always want to be learning, and definitely trust me when I tell you ballet ticks all of those boxes and then some. So I definitely love it, from both observing myself as a learner doing something which is quite a complex thing, and having to use my brain in a different way, but also having to use my body in a different way, and having to use my neurology. So yeah, I love the challenge of ballet, but it often reminds me of photo reading, and you know, all of the little principles. Actually, yeah, I can't put everything in, but the beginner's mind is so important. But we've already done B. Hey, it is what it is. But yeah, and for those of you who can't make it to a live workshop, you know, you've got various options. There's the photo reading book. I've got an online video DVD training, which is a one-day, you know, special training, and I also cover things on that training that I don't teach on the photo reading workshop. And there's the option of Skype coaching. I don't know why, but I have a lot of people from Australia doing the online DVD video training and doing the Skype coaching, which is very cool. There's also the photo reading home study course from Paul Sheely, which you can also get from my website if you can't make the live workshop. And I know one of the very first people who did my video training said it was like being a fly on a wall, and she said she felt like she was in the room with us, which was just amazing. And that was my intention when I created it. So there are various options in terms of getting started, and for those of you who know you want to do a workshop, I'm definitely running one this year in October. So you have the option of grabbing the early booking price or paying a deposit, and then depending on when you pay your deposit, you will lock in whatever price is available at that time. And details are on my website, www.tranceformationstm.com/photo reading, and trance is TRANCE, formations, F for Freddy, ORMATIONS, TM as in trademark, so tranceformationstm.com/photo reading, and you'll find all of the details there. And yeah, it's cool stuff. It really is cool stuff. So thank you, Magdalena, for your video testimonial, even though you know you maybe haven't watched this stream yet, but thank you so much. Really appreciate that, because it's always really nice, I think, to hear it in someone else's words. So what I'll do is I'll maybe post a link to the full video of that in the conversation thread as well, so you can just watch it for yourself in full, because I'm not actually sure how the sound translated, having a video within a video, but hey, I'm just experimenting with technology. So thank you for joining me. Let me have your questions and I will incorporate them when we get to Q in the A to Z of photo reading, and enjoy the rest of the series. I will catch you all later. Bye bye.